All right, it's time for me to put a little note in here to the MDs who are trying to cure their herpes in this program. How do I know you're there? Well, for one thing, a couple of you have written to me, but you've all become my Facebook friends, the ones I'm talking to anyway. And I'm sure there are more of you because I haven't done this with everybody. But with sometimes when people ask me, people who I don't know ask to be my Facebook friend, and see, there really is only one reason why anybody asks to be my Facebook friend who I don't know, which is they've got something that they want to cure. So number one, okay? So I know, and sometimes when I approve the request, I click on your name, and then I go in there and I find you're a surgeon or whatever kind of doctor you are. Or you wrote to me, you messaged me after you friended me, and there's one particular woman I'm talking to here, and I found out you were a surgeon when I clicked on your note, your name there in the note. And you told me you had herpes in your private message that you sent me. You were afraid to say anything about it publicly, but you said something privately, so that's how I knew. And the other thing is that, see, we cure everything. Like, if you are my Facebook friend, you see movies that I post on my Facebook wall, which I post another movie almost every day or so. And, you got movies on MS, panic attacks, lupus, hepatitis C, whatever. There's movies on all kinds of things. And the thing is, you see all these movies on all these different diseases. But what I see when I look at people coming in is for every person who has some other thing to cure, there are 200 people who are here to cure herpes. Herpes is the most common reason. I mean, you see all these movies I make on cancer and you think, oh, this is all about cancer, but there's hundreds of times the herpes sufferers coming in. So I'm going to assume, Mr. and Ms. MD, that you're here to cure your herpes because you can't cure it with your medical treatments. So you're looking for another way. So my note to you is this. You're going to need right now to have a class that you announce to your patients, their families, your colleagues, the hospital where you work, wherever. And also, see this cap? Buy one. And wear the cap to work. Lots of people will ask you about it. They do that. That's interesting because, with most t-shirts, people don't ask about them. This t-shirt they don't ask about either. Nobody cares what the cure team is, But when they see this, that they ask about. Why? Because 70% of the people who walk by you are hosting herpes. That's the statistic. This isn't what I channel. I didn't get a signal. How many people have herpes? Oh, let me test that. I didn't get a signal on that. I read Wikipedia. I read the epidemiology section on herpes, under herpes. That's how I know. So if 100 people pass you in the hall in the hospital, 70 of them are hosting herpes. It will show up on their test. And so they need a class. And you need to give it, because not giving it is an ethical violation. It's morally reprehensible to be able to cure something and not tell other people it's possible for them to cure it. You're a physician So your responsibility is 10 times that of an ordinary person. And that means you're going to have a class. Now, why am I not telling you to just, give them the web address and let them come sign up for the Herpes Cure program? And I'll tell you why, because they don't. That's why. They come, they spend 8 seconds looking at it, and they leave. And it isn't because they don't believe it. For some of them it is. But for most of them, it's just something else. They're coming back. They set a bookmark. They don't have time right now, whatever. No. You have to actually prescribe it. You have to tell them that you're giving a class, and you don't have to teach the class yourself. You're not morally reprehensible if you go play golf after work, okay? I'm not trying to ruin your life here. I'm just telling you that you can have your RN do it, or your receptionist, or whoever you want. It's very easy to learn this, and for them to sit there and take people through the moves. And the people will then teach each other. You can put them in groups of 3 and they'll teach each other. We will help you. You call us up and we'll teach you how to give the class. Okay? It's not a problem. And even if we didn't teach you, you would very quickly figure it out, I'm sure. So it's not actually necessary for us to exist anymore now that we've given this to you. And that's a good thing, because I have a life too, So I don't necessarily want to spend all my time helping people, even though I do feel, some moral responsibility myself to do this. So, why don't we just tell them to go to the web? Well, they have to do that anyway. I mean, they have to sign up. This is their textbook. The written lessons are, and the movies too, this is our equivalent of a textbook. It's not just movies. There are thousands of written lessons. And the people who come to cure herpes need a great many of them, and each one needs different ones, and they help each other find the ones. Okay, here's what we've learned about this. We see the people that we see succeeding, and there may be many, many people out there who are succeeding who we never hear from. That's possible. That's totally possible. I wouldn't know. How would I know that? I didn't hear from them. Okay? So I wouldn't know, But there may be many, many of them who just watch the movies and cure the things. But what we know is that the people who we see succeeding are doing the equivalent of a class with you every week. And when I say a class, I'm really talking about a meeting that your patients come to indefinitely for 6 months or a year until they get flying right. Because what you're going to have to explain to them is the way a cure with this works. It goes in stages. First, they learn how to control the outbreaks, which they may do the first day. See, for many people, the first time they ever do this is the last herpes outbreak they ever have. For me, it was. That was my last herpes outbreak, the day I started curing my herpes. Never had another outbreak after that. So that's their stage 1, is they control their outbreaks. That, like, they turn into Valtrex. Okay, now stage 2 is what happens is, as they stop the herpes, they're killing it. They're actually saying, I'm now killing the herpes. And as they kill it, they kill enough of it so a medical test no longer picks it up. They start getting negative medical tests. And you're going to have to monitor this. If they really want to cure this, you're probably going to need to do a whole series of medical tests with them over time, like every 3 months for, let's say, a year. And if it doesn't show up on any test you'll establish a criteria, let's say a year, 2 years, whatever, then you can probably assume the herpes to be cured, gone forever from the person. And they stop finding it. The thing that she was doing when were watching the movie of the woman curing it, they don't find it anymore. Like they test no instead of yes. That means it's dead. That's what no means. It means it's dead after they've been curing it. So, okay, this is what we notice people doing who are succeeding, okay, and going through this process of curing it. And what we notice is that the infected person becomes my Facebook friend, and then they see all these other people who are curing things writing to each other on Facebook. And they start writing to those people. And maybe at first they're scared to reveal themselves, so they just write private messages or something or whatever. But they start contacting other people who are curing things, and before they know, and they're using the lessons in the web college concurrently with this. And then all of a sudden they're on a Skype call looking at somebody's face on video Skype using their webcams, talking to each other. And, like, the guy will say, I'm not real sure of my signals, sometimes I'm not sure I'm getting a signal. And the other guy who's more experienced might be saying, oh, well, mine looks like this. There was one woman, like she would revolve her finger, and something would happen to it when it was revolved. That's how she got signals. I don't actually even know what she did, but I remember that. So, see, they can. It's like being in the room with somebody, to be on Skype with them. And also, I've noticed that some of them buy that. There's something that Skype offers. I don't know that much about it, but you have to pay for it, and it doesn't cost that much from what I remember. We have it. The church, this is a church. This is it's funny, this is a religion. I tell people sometimes, I say, this is a religion, and they say, a lot of people hate religion, and they're turned off by that. But then there's a whole lot of them who also go like, oh really? Oh, that's great. What religion is it? And when they ask that, and I'll say, like, it's this, and they say, yeah, I know, it's this, of course, but what religion is it? And I go, this. Anyway, so but the church owns that thing in Skype, and so they can have like 5 or 6 of them all looking at each other, see, and only one of them has to have it, so one of them has to pony up, but so they do that. They meet in groups and so on, and these are the people who succeed. They put together their own group, which is what I'm telling you as a physician, that it is your moral responsibility to do. Because if you send them to this web college by themselves, most of them will fail, because that's what happens with most of them. Most of them never even sign up much, and I don't know what happens to them after they do. And your job is to know what happens to them. That's what you do. You're a doctor. So try to remember that. And this isn't all about you. The world doesn't revolve around you, doctor, whoever you are. You're not the center of the universe. Okay? You need to make your patients the center of the universe for you. They have to be your center. And you have to care enough about them to give them the real cure. Because it's unethical to prescribe a drug for somebody who can cure something themselves without it. Your job is to enable them to do that. Or at least give them the option. And also, you have to put something together for them that they can continue with long enough to have a real cure. See, because in the first month or so, they start controlling their outbreaks, and a lot of them just think, oh, great, I'm cured. And they're not. And see, we're not trying to turn them into Valtrex. That's just the first step, okay? We're trying to actually turn them into somebody who cures things. So that's what you're supposed to be empowering them to do. Medicine can be empowering if you actually behave ethically. You don't have to be a pill pusher for the rest of your life. And so with that, I have given my note and notice to doctors. And so if I'm less than enthusiastic about you, if I see you're not doing that, what I'm telling you to do, this is why. And when you contact me, I'll be telling you to watch this movie from here on. Now, I've made this for you so that I can just refer you to it so you know what I expect of you before I deign to help you. Because I don't want to throw my help down a black hole. Understand? You with me on this? Good, okay. Well then, in that case, we have finished the notice to doctors, and this ends our emergency broadcast. I now return you to our regularly scheduled program.